Today we're working on a 2007 Volkswagen Jetta 2.5 liter manual transmission. Yeah, she's looking tired, a little bit of rust, but you would too with 200,000 miles on you. So this has a possible valve cover gasket leak. So let's get into it, let's figure it out, let's get dirty. Alright, first things first, we got to remove some components off the engine to get a look at the valve cover. So first, your snorkel cover. There's two T20 torque screws on either side. That has to get out. This cable has to be removed. Your MAV sensor has to come out. There's a clip on the back side. This hose clamp has to be removed, pulled back, and then you can take off the engine cover. So let's go through those step by step.
Nobody touches us at all. Shout out, shoot out, spread beer up there without it. Something that I take what's off the wheel. Spread the word throughout the land. They say, bad guys, we're black. We're tag, you can't turn back. You see us coming and you all together run for cover. We'll take it over this town. Here it comes, reach for your gun and you better listen well. I'm ready to see it's best now, down below. Aim at you and the devils of hell. Tears down again, everyone. They talking no tales, but just I knew your doom coming me out with the devils of hell.
Now with the engine cover removed, we got a clear look at what we're dealing with. I definitely have a leak of some sort on the valve cover. I'm not sure if it's the gasket or if it's the valve cover itself leaking. We definitely got something funky going on in the back here. So before we go crazy and rip this all apart, I want to make sure I'm doing the right job. Gasket is about 50 bucks, easy to fix. A valve cover is about 350 bucks. So I want to make sure there's no cracks in the actual valve cover itself. So I'm going to give it a really good clean before we take it apart and see before we order any parts. So let's do that now. So after giving it a good cleaning, I'm pretty sure I don't see any cracks in the valve cover itself. It looks intact. It's really dirty. A lot of oil or coolant on the gasket level, front and back around the cover. So let's back out all these screws, take the cover off, and we'll throw in a new gasket. Next, before we take our coil packs out and remove this wiring harness, we have to take out the PCV hose and this connection back here. So with a little hook you can get on the bottom, pull the bottom out and pulls out. And for the PCV, if you're gentle, you can squeeze this plastic hose piece just gently, and that pulls out. And then remove this and just leave it hanging here. You don't need it out too far out of the way. Now next we'll take our coil packs out and the wiring harness. Now to remove the coil packs, you can just use a little pry bar, get it under the head and gently raise up and it pops out, and do that for all 5. Now with all 5 popped out, we can raise it up with the wiring harness. And just bring it forward over the PCV valve. Now with all 16 fasteners loosened, they won't come out. There's a little grommet on the inside that keeps them from falling out, so they'll stay like that, they'll just wiggle. They should be able to come up now. We may have to give it a little bit of a gentle pry just to break the seal. So just gently go around the edge. One thing I realized when taking the cover off was these back fasteners, none of them were even tightened down. I could loosen them by hand at first. So if this was replaced at some point before, they weren't torqued down to spec, and that's why this back area was so had so much deposits on it, just because the gasket wasn't even tightened down. So I'm going to change the gasket out anyways. This gasket's about 15 years old right now, so I'm going to clean the surface around here, clean around the spark plug cylinders, make sure no debris goes in to the camshafts, make sure everything comes out, and give it a good cleaning so you have a nice clean surface for the gasket to mate to. So we'll give that a good clean, and then we'll put the new gasket on.
Clean up, everybody, everywhere. Clean up, everybody. Here, clean up.
And while you got the cover off, now's a good time to give this a really good cleaning. So if there is a leak in the future, you'll be able to identify where it's coming from faster. If there is something on the back, like if you have no debris, you'll be able to see it clear. So give this a good wipe down as well. Now we'll remove the old gasket. Now getting this gasket out, I can feel it's really dried out. It feels like it's ready to crack right in my hands. So it's definitely time for a change. Here's a new one. It's nice and soft, feels really rubbery. So we'll install this now. But before I put that on, I'm just going to clean up around the cover first. Get any more dirt off. Now when putting the new gasket in, just take your time. You want to make sure everything lines up and seats like perfectly in the channel. So for this whole job, you don't want to go fast. It's all about patience with this one. Nice and easy, make sure it all goes in. Just follow it all the way around the perimeter. And when you're ready to put back in the fasteners, there's a little channel here where the gasket fits in here between this and the rubber piece, so that when you flip it over, it all stays into place. So just make sure that the gasket sits in its little channel on each fastener. There, with all the fasteners in place, just make sure they're all stuck in each of the grommet holes, and make sure the gasket is seated all the way around. Just double check this. You don't want this to be wrong. If you put it in and it's creased, you're gonna have to take it all out and start over. So just give it a double check, and once you're ready, then we'll put it back in the car. Okay, now that we're ready to put it back in, just triple check that gasket, make sure it's still sitting in where it's supposed to be. And just line up the fasteners with the holes. Again, take your time with this part. This is the most crucial part of the job. So to get it going, you can just thread them in by hand just till they bottom out, because there is a pattern to this. You want to work from your inside out. And you're only torquing to about 88 inch-pounds. That's about 7 foot-pounds. And when you're ready to, when you've bottomed out all the fasteners and you're ready to torque them down, I don't have a torque wrench that goes that small to 7 foot-pounds, so just use your best judgment. And like I had the problem in the back here too, these weren't even tightened down, so make sure you do tighten them down, but don't overdo it. This is just a plastic cover with an aluminum head, so you could break something. There, with the last one torqued down, we can put our coil packs back in one by one. Just feed the harness through. and push down till it clicks, each one. Reattach your PCV hose, the retainer clip, and your wire in the back. Right. Now we'll put the engine cover back on and reverse these steps.